Good day, good people, and welcome to Revolutionary Belovedness. I'm Robert Farrell, and whether you are watching the live session or the recording, thank you so much for being here with us. If you will, let us know in the chat section that you can hear us okay. And also know that the chat section stays open during our whole time together, so feel free to use that for whatever you would like to share, ask, echo, anything at all. Maybe even if it's just to say hi, that's great. Tonight we are reflecting on justice as love embodied in structures, examining how love must move beyond intention into systems, policies, and shared life. So before we begin, let's find a comfortable position, one that allows both alertness and ease. Let the body settle into whatever is supporting you. Take a slow breath in. And as you exhale, allow your shoulders to soften and the chest to open. Bring attention gently inward. This moment of gathering is itself an act of love. The choice to be present, to bring the whole of yourself to these questions and to one another. And on your next breath, let an image rise. A world where every person is safe, nourished, and free. Hold that image gently, the way you might rest with a flame, attentive and open. Breathe in the possibility that such a world is more than a dream, and breathe out, releasing all that feels heavy. Just a little note before I share the reflection. I have been working this afternoon to try and resolve some software issues with the crashing that we experienced last week. I don't think I have it resolved. I've been hopeful a couple of times, but if it crashes, I will continue to be grateful for your patience as we recover from the crash. Friends, love at its deepest is a force that seeks form. Every mystical tradition in its own language and imagery arrives at this same recognition. The sacred energy that moves through all of life presses toward expression, toward manifestation, toward the concrete and the particular. Sufism speaks of divine love pouring itself into the forms of the world. The Christian tradition speaks of the Word made flesh, the eternal taking on the textures of time and matter. Buddhism speaks of compassion radiating outward from the awakened heart into every dimension of shared existence. Across traditions and centuries, the witness is consistent. Love moves toward the other. And friends, the contemplative life cultivates this love in its most interior dimension, in silence, in prayer, in the still voice that speaks beneath the noise of daily preoccupation. The spiritual life, when it reaches genuine maturity, carries what has been received in stillness, and it carries it outward into the world of relationship and shared responsibility. This movement from interior cultivation to outward expression is as natural as water finding its way from a source through channels into the wider landscape, carrying what the interior holds into every place it reaches. That's why you often hear me say you cannot give what you do not have. And as that love moves outward, it inevitably encounters the structures of common life. It asks with genuine seriousness what those structures are designed to serve. What does it mean for justice to be love embodied in structures? Now, Cornel West offered a phrase that crystallizes the question. Justice is what love looks like in public, just as tenderness is what love feels like in private. You see, love is the energy, not the emotion. Love is the energy at the center of all genuine spiritual life. And embodied means it has taken form, it has become concrete, it has become visible. So structures are the arrangements of power, policy, resource, and accountability that shape the conditions of human life together. So justice, then, is love that has found its way all the way into those arrangements. And this may help you begin to develop a sense of what we mean love at the center of politics, or an ethic of love. Friends, Wayne Teasdale's understanding of spiritual maturity even deepens this claim, because the more a person is immersed in the divine presence, the more love becomes the operative principle of their entire life, moving outward toward the suffering, toward the neighbor, toward the stranger, toward all sentient life. And that love extends. It encounters the arrangements of social life and begins to ask whether those arrangements are worthy of the dignity they are meant to serve. Spiritual formation actually reaches its fullness only when it has moved all the way into how one inhabits and shapes shared life alongside others. This is what I often refer to as solidarity, which I'll talk about in a minute. Another term that's being used is kinship. In any case, what love encounters in the structure of social life are the solidified choices of communities across time. Every institution, every policy, every system of accountability was brought into being through human decisions, shaped by human values, and sustained by human participation. And structures carry memory. They are the residue of what communities have believed, the embodied record of what has been prioritized, and what has received far less attention. They can also change. What has been constructed can be reconstructed, reformed, or reimagined entirely. The awareness that existing arrangements reflect choices that can be made differently is itself a gift of the contemplative life. Stillness enables perception, and perception opens the possibility of a freer and more loving response to what one sees. Now, Valerie Kaur names this capacity reimagining, the act of exercising collective imagination toward a vision of the world where all flourish. It reaches beyond resistance toward what could be, toward institutions grounded in love, grounded in accountability, grounded in healing, and grounded in the recognition that every life holds equal worth. And Valerie arrived at this understanding through years of listening to the stories of marginalized people, attending to the depth of their longing. And the longing she heard reached toward a future where all people are safe in their bodies, all people are free to pursue their dreams, and all people are supported by institutions aimed at full flourishing, honoring the entire range of human possibility. And friends, that possibility has to be imagined before it can be created. And the poet Lucille Clifton expressed it plainly. All creation begins with what is first imagined. So reimagining begins in the interior life, in the contemplative capacity to hold a vision clearly enough that it begins to take form. Meditation, contemplative prayer, and stillness teach us, the practitioner, to perceive more deeply, to sense the movement of the sacred beneath the surface of the ordinary. And so when that perception is brought to the structures of communal life, it becomes prophetic. It is the capacity to hold a steady vision of what alignment with love could look like in practice and in policy. Now, Wayne Teasdale understood this prophetic capacity as inseparable from spiritual maturity. The enlightened being is someone who willingly risks comfort and security for the sake of peace, justice, and the care of those who are vulnerable. Prophetic love speaks into systems, asking the institutions of shared life to rise toward their highest possibility. And this dimension of the spiritual life is essential because structures of injustice require active human engagement to transform them. You see, that's how the Spirit works, is through human engagement, not through magic. And that will persist as long as the imagination that could envision something better remains dormant or unconvinced of its own power, those structures of injustice. But critical consciousness wakes the imagination, and reimagining gives it direction and shape. I mean, simply think about it. Have you ever created anything that you didn't think about first? Right? You had to reimagine, imagine, become more conscious of before you could actually create. Yes, thank you, Bo. Good to see you here again. Friends, prophetic love, when turned toward the concrete, follows the harm to its source. And Valerie Kaur observes that any social harm can be traced to institutions that produce it, that authorize it, and of course even profit from it. And undoing injustice, therefore, requires reimagining new institutions and then stepping in to lead them. Friends, this is the movement love makes when it matures. It moves from the warmth of feeling toward the more demanding and creative work of building what the heart has envisioned. Love asks what the arrangements of shared life would look like if they were designed to honor every life as sacred, and then begins wherever it can to build toward that answer. And that building is sustained by solidarity. Friends, Wayne Teasdale's second element of a universal spirituality is a deep sense of solidarity with all beings, arising from the recognition that all life is intrinsically interconnected, interbeing. And if you go to our Mighty Network, you will see multiple resources to help you understand solidarity. There's some online courses and there's writings and so forth. So when solidarity is genuinely felt, it ceases to be an abstract principle and becomes a motivating force. Your flourishing matters because your life is bound up in mine. And as I've said, matter of fact, I said in a talk I gave just a couple of weeks ago, your well-being and my well-being are, by the grace of God, one being, interbeing. Your flourishing matters because your life is bound up in mine. The quality of the institutions that govern access to safety, dignity, and opportunity is a matter of love, because love has already recognized every life as precious. And solidarity, kinship, if you'd rather use that word, insists that love follow that recognition all the way into policy, all the way into the structures that make human flourishing more fully possible. And reimagining this practice of revolutionary love, one of Valerie Kaur's 10 practices, reimagining carries that solidarity forward into time. It asks us to envision futures that honor the dignity of people whose faces we carry in imagination and in prayer, communities still forming, generations still to come. The institutions shaped now will form the conditions of life for those who follow. And the choices made in this generation become the inheritance of the next. And I think, honestly, we already know that. That's why in this country, the U.S., there is such deep heartbreak about the structures that are being created, because those choices that are made in this generation become the inheritance of the next. Friends, love calls us to shape those institutions with the long view in mind, understanding that this work is always being passed forward, always being taken up by new hands, always finding expression in someone who dared first to imagine it. And that daring begins inside. You cannot give what you do not have. Whatever is cultivated in the silence of prayer eventually seeks expression in action. What is formed in contemplation eventually shapes how one moves through the world and what one is willing to advocate for. So no, friends, it's not just simply navel gazing. It is real work. And friends, when those who are loved are held within structures whose design is still reaching toward its full capacity for honoring human dignity, love asks us to reimagine those structures. Love that remains only in the heart has more growing to do. Love that finds its way into structures is love becoming justice. You see, reimagining is a sacred practice rooted in a simple conviction. The world can be more fully aligned with love, and human beings are capable of creating what they first dare to envision. This hope, in its deepest register, grounded in the witness of all who have worked, often at great cost, to make institutions more aligned with love. History carries the evidence of collective imagination taking form, of communities choosing to create something more just than what they received. And their courage is an inheritance, and it belongs to all those who are willing to carry it forward. Friends, the path is clear. Let love be large enough to reach into the arrangements of shared life. Let the vision formed in stillness find expression in structure. Let the sacred energy that contemplative practice awakens become, over time, the energy that imagines new institutions, shapes policy, and moves with persistent courage through a world where every person's flourishing is honored. So, as we like to do, other than just saying words, is to provide ourselves an opportunity to experience, maybe just for a few minutes, with a guided inquiry. I've been adopting that language instead of guided meditation. This is a guided inquiry. You're invited to join along. Feel the weight of your body in the seat. Feel the floor beneath your feet, the back of the chair against you, supporting you. Take a breath and let it settle you here in this moment. Take another breath, and on the exhale, let the shoulders drop a little further. Let the jaw soften. And allow your hands to rest open in your lap. Feel the warmth in your palms, the small sensations at the tips of your fingers. There is something in the hands that knows about building. They carry the memory of every act of making, every time love moved through them into something that outlasted the moment. Maybe you remember something like a meal set on a table, a door held open, something repaired, something tended, something made for another. The hands carry what the mind forgets. That love often works quietly in the making of ordinary things, in the small gestures that hold a life together. Bring your attention now to the chest and notice what lives there. The weight, the warmth, the quality of feeling that is present right now. And let it be whatever it is. Let the body simply report it. consider, what does it feel like? Feel is a physical word. Feel like when love is present in the arrangements of shared life, in the way a community is organized, in the way a need is met before it has to be spoken, in the way a door is designed so that everyone can walk through it. What does it feel like when love is present in the arrangements of shared life? No need to analyze it. Just feel it. Now, let the imagination open. What does love look like when it is present in public life? When it finds its way into the rules, into the policies, into the shared arrangements of the world? What does love look like when it is present in public life? And what vision arises in the quiet when the thinking mind grows still? Let the image rest in the body before it forms in the mind. Again, turn to the feeling of it. What does it feel like before it has a shape? You can let that image come as it comes in whatever form it takes. Let it be small or large, near or far. A single room, a neighborhood, a nation, a world. Friends, we're going to share just a couple of minutes of silence together. You're invited to hold these questions lightly. What would you build if love were the architect? And what are you already building even now, even here? Breathing in the world as it is, breathing out the world love is building. Breathing in the world as it is. Breathing out the world love is building. Friends, gently begin to release the image. Return to the breath. Return to the weight of the body, to the warmth in your hands. Notice what is present now, any shift, any aliveness, any quiet that is gathered. And when you're ready, if you haven't already, let your eyes open slowly. Whatever arose in this quiet belongs to you. And you can carry it gently into the days that follow. And may you find the form that love is asking of you. And may that work be a blessing to all that it reaches. Thank you for sharing that time of guided inquiry with me. So we've had reflection, we've had guided inquiry, and I also offer you practice in the form of journaling or deep personal reflection, discursive meditation, whatever you like to do. I'm going to offer you 4 dialogue questions. And these will be on the Mighty Network where the video recording is, so you can go spend some more time with those in the days to come. But let me share them here, and if you have any responses in the moment you would like to share in the chat, you can feel free to do that. Cornell West observed that justice is what love looks like in public, just as tenderness is what love feels like in private. So, where in your own experience have you encountered a structure or an institution that felt like love made visible in shared life? And what did it look like? And what made it feel that way? Next, the practice of reimagining asks us to exercise our collective imagination toward a world where all flourish. So what vision arose for you during the guided inquiry? What does a structure, a policy, or a shared arrangement genuinely rooted in love look like in the context of your own community or work? Wayne Teasdale taught that prophetic witness grows naturally from genuine spiritual formation, from the overflow of a life immersed in love. So where do you sense love asking you to speak into a structure or system in your own sphere of life? And what would it mean to follow that call? And next, reimagining is always a collective act. It's sustained by solidarity and passed forward through generations. Think about it. What inheritance have you received from those who dared to reimagine before you? And what are you building or contributing that you hope will be carried forward by those who come after? So I will pause for just a moment to give you, if anybody would like to provide a response to one or more of those, feel free to do that. A reminder that each of these sessions are recorded. They're available on the Mighty Network and on YouTube as soon as I can get them there. And I also am sorry. I am also each week sending out the reminder that in August we are transitioning from Mighty Network to Substack and Crowdcast, and hope that will provide a refreshed experience, maybe even an easier way to interact in some ways. So look forward to that in August. You'll be seeing little tidbits along the way before we make that full transition. I don't see anything in the chat yet. And of course, I would let you know that in the past few weeks, I released my first book, an unexpected book to me. It came out of a personal spiritual project, but by the time I was done, it was a collection. And so now the book, The Sermons of a Showgirl, is available on Amazon. So one sharing in the chat is, when I broke my shoulder, it had a huge effect on my income. I was surprised at how helpful people in the system were with getting me connected with financial assistance. Thank you so much for sharing. Yep, it is quite amazing in my observations and in the lessons of Mr. Rogers, just look where the helpers are. They seem to always show up when you never thought that they were even nearby. One more message is coming in. Thanks. I appreciate bonus points for mentioning Mr. Rogers. Okay, friends, thank you again for being here, whether you're here for the live session or you're watching the recording. So very grateful for you, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Good night for now.